Does your favorite NFL team have any chance of winning Super Bowl 59? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch here to rank all 32 NFL teams by their opportunity, their chance, the likeliness they capture the Super Bowl in 2024. If you want more NFL content here on OwnersBox Fantasy, just like this, make sure to Gronk spike the like button. And of course, comment your opinion, guys, on my list. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? And let me know if I'm accurate about your favorite NFL team. Let's get started at number 32, dead last, with next to no opportunity of winning the Super Bowl in 2024, the Denver Broncos. Now, I have a lot of respect for Sean Payton, but there's only so much that one coach can do with this roster. You have a rookie quarterback potentially in Bo Nix. You have an underwhelming weapon crew led by Courtland Sutton and Javonte Williams, and not a lot else. You have a defense that's mid at best. They lost one of their best players in Justin Simmons. There is just not a lot of upside with this team, and they reside in the same division as the reigning defending back-to-back champions. They're probably not making it out of their division. They're probably not even seeing the playoffs. They have the worst chance of winning the Super Bowl. The second worst chance of winning the Super Bowl, aka number 31, is the Washington Commanders. The Commanders, yeah, they don't have the champs in their division, but they have the same rookie quarterback that they have to get over. Rookie coach, essentially, in Dan Quinn. I understand he coached the Falcons before, but it's a new coach on a new team. You have a new offensive coordinator. You have a really underwhelming front seven and offensive line. Yes, I like Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen, but if they don't get to the quarterback, the secondary is not covering anybody. They lost their best corner, Kendall Fuller, this offseason. The offensive line was one of the worst last year. It shouldn't be much better this year. And really, they just don't have enough elite talent on the perimeter to help Jaden Daniels. And the likeliness of Jaden Daniels coming from LSU, where he had an elite receiving core, going to Washington with an underwhelming supporting cast and really elevating this bottom-of-the-barrel franchise, it's very unlikely. So they are the worst team in the NFC entering 2024. At number 30, the third worst chance to win the Super Bowl this season is the New York G-Men. Yes, back-to-back teams in the NFC East. When you think about the Giants, yes, they have a phenomenal front seven, which does elevate them above the Commanders and the Broncos. And I do believe in Brian Daboll as a coach. I just personally think that Daniel Jones is probably seeing his last days as the starting quarterback of the Giants. Malik Neighbors is their greatest weapon, and he is a rookie. The offensive line has probably been the worst line in the league the last couple of years. They lost Saquon Barkley. They lost Darren Waller. There is a lot of questions about a very young secondary. They just don't have enough to win the Super Bowl, and I don't even think they're going to get outside the top 5 draft picks in 2024. At number 29, the Carolina Panthers. This is a little bit higher for probably a lot of people for the Carolina Panthers, but the Carolina Panthers, at least they have a little bit more upside entering 2024 than the previous teams mentioned. Why? They have a second-year quarterback as opposed to a rookie. A rookie's never won the Super Bowl. Bryce Young might be able to elevate his game, and he was absolutely horrific in his first season. There is no doubt about it. He needs to learn how to get rid of the ball, not hold on to it, and feel the pressure in the NFL. But with Deontay Johnson, right, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, you add a rookie running back, you add a rookie tight end, you add Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, a lot of added dimension to this offense up front to protect Bryce Young, at receiver to catch the football from Bryce Young, a new, vibrant, young head coach, and a defense that was actually pretty steady, especially against the pass last year, plus a lot of veterans on that side of the ball. I feel like Carolina, if J.C. Horn is playing, hopefully Derek Brown is still playing at an elite level, and Bryce Young elevates, they could surprise a lot of people, giving them a little bit more opportunity than these bottom couple of teams. At number 28, my New England Patriots. The Patriots are at 28, and their argument would be they have by far the best defense of these bottom tier teams. They have probably a top 5 defense. Even last year with Matt Judon being injured, Christian Gonzalez being injured up front and in the secondary, they were still an elite defense. They were the best against the run in football according to EPA and success rate. And they have a rookie quarterback with a lot of upside. Drake May is a physical monster with a huge arm and capable of elevating an offense. If Drake May does see the field, that is their argument, where he could maybe be the CJ Stroud of 2024, and alongside a great defense that gets him a lot of possessions and a lot of opportunity to win close, low-scoring games, it's possible the Patriots surprise a lot of people. Now, it's unlikely because they have a rookie head coach, possibly a rookie quarterback, or Jacoby Brissett, who's nothing special, and they have an underwhelming receiving core, an underwhelming offensive line. There's a lot of issues with my Patriots, but at least they have the defense and the upside at quarterback to make this thing happen. At number 27, the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have Kyler Murray, period. So he's a lot better than the previous quarterbacks mentioned and a lot more proven than the rookies. And they also have, I think, a very, very underrated weapon crew. James Conner had an amazing season last year. When he was on the field, he was one of the most efficient running backs in football. Their run game was extremely explosive and made things happen. And the offensive line, Paris Johnson, year 2, left tackle. They brought in Jonah Williams. I like Will Hernandez. I think they can run the ball very well, especially considering Kyler's dimension in that facet. And then, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. should be a right away effective number 1 receiver that can just go up and catch the ball one-on-one like DeAndre Hopkins previously for Kyler Murray. Kyler has led the Cardinals to the playoffs before. Trey McBride could be like a top 3 tight end in football this year. I like Greg Dortch. I like Wilson. They have weapons. They can score points. The biggest issue with them is young coach that's still unproven in Gannon. The defense is borderline horrendous, probably the worst on paper in the NFL. But with this offense, they can win a lot of games in a shootout. And you never know. If Kyler could play at an MVP level, they could make something happen in 2024. He certainly has the talent. At number 26, the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are a little bit more well-rounded than the Arizona Cardinals. They don't have quite the quarterback, but Will Levis does have a lot of potential. There's no question about it. He has a huge arm. He's tough. I love his mentality, and he energized this team last season. So I really like how they supported him this offseason. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins are there. Tyler Boyd signed on. They've got Tony Pollard and Spears in the backfield, which I'm very excited for. They have a new head coach who, yes, young, unproven, but he's been in big games. Callahan, he's been a member of the Bengals, and he's coached a good offense. And he could bring that to the Titans. The Titans were very much held back by their offensive creativity and flair the last couple of seasons since Arthur Smith left. Callahan and his father coaching the offensive line could really spark everything about this offense. The explosiveness, the run game, all of it. The offensive line has been a borderline disaster, but Latham was drafted in the first round. Skoronski last year in the first round. They brought in Lloyd Cushenberry, a top 10 center. They've got the pieces to make this offense happen. Jeff Simmons, Harold Landry. They brought in L'Jarius Sneed. They have enough studs on defense to be pretty compelling. So the Titans have more upside than I think people give them credit for. At number 25, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are not back, but at least they have the pieces in terms of individual talent and a vibrant energy coming from their new coach and Antonio Pierce, where you could believe this team could be an underdog story similar to the Lions and Dan Campbell. Now, they need to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. Aiden O'Connell probably gives them more upside than Gardner Minshew, but Minshew is a steady guy, and you never know. Minshew has that underdog energy that's perfect for the Raiders. But what I love about the Raiders is their D-line is phenomenal. Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, who got added this offseason, along with Malcolm Kuntz, is potentially dangerous. And if Tyree Wilson can figure it out at the NFL level, they could have one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. Jack Jones is a playmaker in the back end. Robert Spillane's highly underrated. The defense, I think, could be top 10 this year, especially with how they performed last year and shocked the world. The offense has weapons, right? Brock Bowers, he's going to be sick as a rookie. We already know how sweet Devontae Adams is. Jacoby Myers is extremely reliable. And I think Zamir White's going to be absolutely fine as the starting running back. Plus, the offensive line could be angry, tough, physical. They've got great depth. Colton Miller leads the group. So if quarterback can be figured out, the Raiders might be like a surprising playoff team given the actual well-rounded nature of the roster at number 25. At number 24, Derek Carr used to play for the Raiders. He's on the New Orleans Saints now. And the New Orleans Saints are my number 24 because they do have a good defense. And under Dennis Allen, they consistently have a good defense. They did add to the defensive line with guys like Chase Young this offseason. I think they have one of the best cornerback crews in the NFL alongside Tyrann Mathieu at safety. And so the defense is probably like borderline top 10. They've got good linebackers. They brought in Willie Gay from the Chiefs to go alongside Demario Davis. And the offensive line is probably like the area I'm most concerned about. Ryan Ramczyk is injured, and they don't really have sort of an answer at left and right tackle. Penning looked like a bust, and they did draft Fuaga, but I'm not sure how ready he'll be to step up into that role. So offensive line could be a disaster. But with Derek Carr, who's a proven decent quarterback and has shown he could be great in certain seasons, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Alvin Kamara maybe could find a resurgence. With the defense, with the weaponry, with a somewhat proven quarterback, they have a little bit more of an opportunity than the previous teams mentioned, but not really by much. At number 23, the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Vikings don't have the proven quarterback of Derek Carr, but they have upside at quarterback, and they have phenomenal coaching, and they have a really good roster. I think the Vikings are exciting because last year they competed with everybody. Like, despite having Kirk Cousins or no Kirk Cousins, like, they beat the 49ers on Monday Night Football. Don't forget that. I know that Cousins was there. But this team, Brian Flores, he really did something with that defense. They're aggressive. They get after it. They brought in Andrew Van Ginkel. They brought in Jonathan Grenard. They drafted Dallas Turner. They've got guys like Harrison Smith. Ivan Pace, don't sleep on him. They've got a good, solid defense, and they're aggressive, and they get after it. And offensively, I think that they have really as good of a supporting cast as there is in the NFL. Aaron Jones is now the running back. That's an upgrade. Justin Jefferson, we know how good he is. Jordan Addison, right? TJ Hawkinson will get healthy at some point. And the offensive line is led by one of the best tackle duos in football. This is a very good supporting cast on top of Kevin O'Connell being a really good play caller, and I really like his attitude. I think if Sam Darnold, I know it's crazy, Sam Darnold can finally figure it out. He just spent time under Kyle Shanahan, learning from that offense. He knows this scheme. It could be his time. He could be mature enough. It could be his moment. So just for the chance of Sam Darnold finally being it with the best supporting cast of his career, there is a small chance the Vikings find it with a really good coaching staff. At number 23. At number 22, the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are probably an elevated team from the previous mention just because there is a complete wild card known as Anthony Richardson, physically the most special quarterback we've ever seen at the NFL Combine. Anthony Richardson could be the next Cam Newton, right? He could just take over the NFL, period, because he's so physically gifted. He's fast, he's big, he's got a strong arm, and he's also shown enough nuance in his game from a pocket presence standpoint, reading through his progressions. Now, he needs to fix his accuracy. It's wild, but hey, Cam Newton wasn't the most accurate, right? Guys have gotten away with that. Even guys like Josh Allen earlier in their career, not the most accurate, but Cam Newton, Anthony Richardson, just think of that, right? Like 2015, if the Colts can put together a really good front seven, which they have, a really good coach, I love Shane Steichen, a really good offensive line, they definitely have that. The running back, Jonathan Taylor, and, a good number one receiver, Michael Pittman Jr., potentially a breakout receiver in Mitchell as a rookie, right? Josh Downs is not bad. Like, they've got enough pieces here where they won 8 games with like Gardner Minshew at quarterback. They nearly made the playoffs last year. If Richardson could be like special, right? That is my argument for the Colts. Now, their secondary is dreadful. There's no doubt about that. They just lost Samson Ebukam, but if they could put together a special season from Anthony Richardson alongside a really good D-line, a really good O-line, and a great coach, they could win the Super Bowl. At number 21, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, we first have to understand what is Kirk Cousins going to be coming off the Achilles. But if he's Kirk Cousins of last year, don't forget that Cousins was on an absolute tear last year. Like, he was borderline MVP quality coming off one of the best games I've ever seen him play against the 49ers, the NFC representative. He carried the team early in the season to wins and to, competing. And so he goes to Atlanta now with an awesome offensive line, one of the top 3 in the NFL. Bijan Robinson, who could be a phenom of a running back in the run and the pass game. Kyle Pitts, who we thought would be a phenom at tight end, but it could finally be his time because, hey, think back to guys like Jordan Reed and obviously TJ Hawkinson. Cousins knows how to utilize the tight end position. Drake London could be a surging star at wide receiver. Even somebody like Darnell Mooney is pretty interesting to add some speed to the offense. This is going to be the Sean McVay approach by Zach Robinson from the offense. They're going to run the ball, have balance, a lot of play action. It's a perfect fit for Kirk Cousins, who did work under Sean McVay previously, right? And then defensively, Raheem Morris is a very good defensive coach who has won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator, who's been alongside the Matt LaFleurs, the Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahans throughout his entire career. The Falcons have the coaching staff to really boost this team. And yeah, their defense is really bad, but at least they have AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, David Onyemata, enough pieces to get you, and anchor this unit and to get you excited about the unit. So at number 21, the Atlanta Falcons. At number 20, entering the top 20, the Chicago Bears. The Bears are up next because Caleb Williams could just be that good right away. Now, the reason they're only 20 is because they have a rookie quarterback, and rookie quarterbacks don't win the Super Bowl, right? This is just facts. I'm just dealing in facts here, guys. But Caleb Williams could be that special, right? He's got an electric arm. He is an amazing playmaker. His feel, his confidence, his composure under pressure is absolutely amazing. There's reasons he's been compared to Patrick Mahomes, right? And then you have, of course, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet. Really excellent weapons. The offensive line is young and I think on the rise, right? Wright, Jones, Jenkins. These guys are on the rise. Nate Davis was added last offseason. They could be a better offensive line than we think, providing a lot of balance to the run and the pass game. And if Caleb could really just make those plays that he did in college, I know it's difficult to assume, but hey, it could happen. Defensively, near the end of the year, they were like a top 10 defense led by Jalen Johnson. In the secondary, Montez Sweat really ignited something in Matt Eberflus's defense. So that's why I have them at number 20. At number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They shocked the world last year. Post Tom Brady's retirement, Baker Mayfield came in and he baked. Baker Mayfield went out there and he said, give me Mike Evans, give me Chris Godwin, Rachaad White in the backfield. We're going to cook, right? And Baker probably has a better offensive line this season with Graham Barton being drafted in the first round, which has been a huge struggle for Tampa Bay. The center position has been awful for Tampa Bay since Ryan Jensen went down and retired. So that's going to be huge for their running game, where they've ranked 32nd in yards per attempt the previous seasons, but that should improve, right? Yes, they lost their offensive coordinator, Dave Canales, but it's going to be a very similar type of system. And I think Baker has the confidence of the team, a veteran defense that many of them have won a Super Bowl. Antoine Winfield, Levante David, right? Vita Vea, Kalijah Kancey could be a breakout player for this defense. Jamel Dean is still there. They brought back Jordan Whitehead to pair alongside arguably the best safety in football, Antoine Winfield. Todd Bowles is known for his great game plans in big games. I feel like the Bucs are definitely one of the more mid rosters in the league, but they just have this underdog winning mentality. And so many of these guys have experienced winning that you can't count them out. At number 18, the Los Angeles Chargers. They're here solely because of their coach and their quarterback. I don't think this roster is very good, but what if some of these players take a giant leap? Like, it is possible that Ladd McConkey is phenomenal as a rookie. We've seen him already in training camp be tearing it up. And it's possible he is just a wicked route runner. You watch his tape at college, he played for Georgia. Like, the guy has crazy lateral ability, crazy route running ability. If he could be the number one receiver to replace Keenan Allen, that gives him such a bigger chance because Herbert needs receivers on this team to step up. Josh Palmer, he can get it done. Quentin Johnston is probably terrible, but what if he actually makes something happen of his career? And the offensive line, they have a really good tackle duo. Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater are one of the best in football. The interior is a bit suspect, but if they can run the ball, that can keep pressure off Justin Herbert. We know that Greg Roman always runs the ball effectively, and Herbert's one of those few quarterbacks that can carry a franchise and a team to success. And if they get there, They can make it happen, right? Harbaugh, he just always wins. No matter what, his culture is so strong. His belief is so strong. The defense has enough studs, right? Derwin James at his best, Khalil Mack at his best, Joey Bosa, if healthy. Asante Samuel could take a rise in his play. If they have enough on offense at receiver, Herbert can make this thing happen. So at number 18, the Chargers. At number 17, the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are extremely slept on. Yes, they have a young coach, a rookie coach replacing Pete Carroll, but this is the best defensive coach in football, Mike Macdonald, which makes me believe that the Seahawks could enter the NFC West and even give Kyle Shanahan's Niners some issues with that defense. Think about what they have from a personnel standpoint and how it matches the Ravens' personnel from last year. They have one of the best interior trios in the NFL. You got Leonard Williams. You just drafted a first-round pick out of Texas, right, to play defensive tackle. And you also have Draymond Jones, who they signed a huge contract to rush the passer. Don't sleep on their edge rush either, right? Boye Mafe. Nwosu is back. You've got Devin Witherspoon and Reek Woolen in the back end with Julian Love. Enough secondary pieces. Witherspoon could be unreal in the Kyle Hamilton role. So this defense could be very good in year one under the best mind in football, in my opinion, Mike Macdonald on that side. Now, offensively, they've got a ton of skill talent. Arguably one of the best receiver trios. Metcalf, Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba in football. Noah Fant, Kenneth Walker is a home run hitter. The O-line is really scary. I don't love it at all, which is why they're not higher. And Geno Smith is kind of average, but with a good defense, with good receivers, Geno can play at a borderline top 10 level. We've seen that before. So at number 17, I've got the Seahawks. At number 16, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've won a ton of Super Bowls already. Why not another one, right? And my argument here is they have a great coach, Mike Tomlin, who never has a losing record. They have a top 5 defense without a doubt, and probably the best pass rush in the NFL, led by TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward. And they have Minkah Fitzpatrick. They added Patrick Queen. They might have the best corner they've had in years in Porter Jr., right? And Russell Wilson. What if Russell Wilson kind of reforms into Russell Wilson? What if a good offensive line with a good running game of Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, highly underrated running game from last year, and a lot of play action from Arthur Smith and a number 1 target like George Pickens? What if Russell Wilson turns back the clock and has a dominant defense alongside him with a great coach and a strong winning culture? The Steelers might be able to shock some teams in 2024. At number 15, the Jacksonville Jags. They're here because Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence has all the upside, all the tools in the world. Their O-line is a little leaky, but I really like Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, and Brian Thomas Jr. and how that will affect not only the middle of the field, but stretch defenses vertically. Travis Etienne is a playmaker with the ball in his hands. And defensively, this is the strongest defense, in my opinion, of Trevor Lawrence's young career. I think the defensive line is potentially potent. Ryan Nielsen is a highly underrated defensive coordinator they got from the Falcons, who really upgraded that unit last year. Imagine what he can do with Josh Allen, Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, and now Eric Armstead, Roy Robertson Harris. They've got pretty good young players on the rise like Devin Lloyd, Andre Sisco, Campbell. So they've got the pieces on both sides to make this happen. The quarterback upside, the coach that is proven to do it in big games. That's why they're at 15. At number 14, the Dallas Cowboys. I know the Cowboys never win the Super Bowl. I get it. When's the last time they went to the NFC Championship? The 90s? I get it. But the Cowboys, just think about what they have. They have a proven quarterback in Dak Prescott. Yes, he does sometimes choke, but how much of that has really been him and how much of that has been the competition and how much has that been the coaching and things like that? Now, he's got CeeDee Lamb, a top 3 receiver, top 4 receiver in the NFL, the NFL's leader in receptions last year. He's got, I think, a good tight end. I think a decent number 2 in Brandon Cooks and Ferguson. I think a defense that at any point could be the best in the NFL. I mean, you got Parsons, Lawrence, Odigizua. You've got a good safety tandem, and obviously Trayvon Diggs is back to complement Deron Bland. That's the biggest playmaking cornerback duo in football. So you combine that pass rush, the speed of the defense. Zimmer could potentially bring a new flair to the defense as opposed to Dan Quinn. And Dak played at an MVP level last year. So just that alone should put them at least in the conversation. At number 13, the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins are at number 13, the fastest team in the NFL, and that just gives them a chance, right? I understand the offensive line is absolutely horrendous on paper, and Armstead's probably only going to play 6 games. But when you have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, A-Shane, right? Jonnu Smith even, Odell Beckham now, and you've got a retirement home of a defense. Maybe they still perform. Calais Campbell, Marcus May, Jordan Poyer, all these old guys, Jalen Ramsey, but maybe they come together alongside Javon Holland and Chubb and Phillips come back just in time, healthy. They've got the talent. They've got as much talent as anybody. If Tua can find a way to play big in big games, Mike McDaniel can just elevate in terms of his ability in big games to be able to have a well-rounded, crafted game plan to beat the best teams in the league. We know how good he is from a play calling standpoint, how creative he is. That gives them a chance, and their talent alone and their speed alone gives them a chance. So at number 13, the Dolphins. At number 12, the Cleveland Browns. Imagine if you combined the best defense in the NFL with a great offensive line, one of the best running backs in the league, a good coaching staff, and decent quarterback play. Does that not sound like a potential Super Bowl winning team? If Deshaun Watson can remove his head from his rear end and actually play well this year, they have the best defense in the league on paper. They did last year. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, one of the best cornerback trios in football, a deep safety crew, an incredibly deep defensive lines, Darius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson. All these guys are there. Still, they didn't lose anybody. They only added pieces, Jordan Hicks, etc. The offensive line is healthy now, and they've got a lot of depth, and they're really good. So, and you got Kevin Stefanski, Schwartz, the best defensive coordinator they've ever had under Stefanski. And you got Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Nick Chubb. I mean, how many pieces do you need, Deshaun Watson? If you can remove your head from you know where, you could win the Super Bowl. Just figure it out. Turn back the clock. And that's why you're at number 12. At number 11, the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay have already won a Super Bowl. So there's that. They did lose Aaron Donald. They do have a very young defense, very unproven defense. It's borderline scary. I think they're a very reliant offensive team, which is why they're not in the top 10. But when you have this good of an offense, a really good offensive line, Jonah Jackson added to the mix, right? Kyron Williams, a workhorse running back. You've got Kupp. If Kupp plays at his best alongside what we saw from Puka Nacua, this offense borderline unstoppable with Matthew Stafford now in the clutch. Matthew Stafford is deadly. Every 2-minute drill he has ever done, he gives the team a chance. And then defensively, if some of these younger players could take a rise, right, and they can find some gems from the draft, and then Tre'Davious White returns to form. They brought in Darius Williams. They brought in Cameron Curl. Ernest Jones is a really good player, right? If you can get Byron Young to take another step, like, this defense could be better than last year for sure, but it's just a little bit of a question mark removing your defensive coordinator and removing one of the best players of all time. So that's why I have them at number 11. Obviously proven entities in coach and quarterback, a lot of upside on offense, just a very shaky defense. At number 10, entering the top 10, the Philadelphia Eagles, Eagles. They have a chance to win the Super Bowl in 2024. Why? They almost did it a couple years ago, right? And they removed horrible, horrific coordinators and added proven entities on offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, as long as he's not having to do any coaching, right? And he's just really arrogant and he just pumps the team up. That works for the Eagles, right? Jalen Hurts, great leader, capable of taking over games with his legs and his arm. The offensive line is arguably still the best in football, even removing Jason Kelce. Saquon was added, right? Saquon could be the guy in December, January that like allows him to run the ball down people's throats. And you can rely on that element alongside Jalen Hurts' legs and the tush push to get you first downs and control the clock against teams like the Niners in the NFC. Obviously, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, extremely talented receiving core. The defense has a lot of talent. It's just a matter of some of these younger players, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Nolan Smith, right? Some of these younger guys stepping up. Maybe Nakobe Dean, right? Like Jordan Davis needs to step up. But Jalen Carter is special, I think, right? Hassan Reddick gone, but Huff is in. Or Josh Sweat is a really good player. Darius Slay could still be a really good player. So they've still got enough on defense, especially from a talent standpoint. And what if Devin White actually turned into 2020 Devin White? Wow, that would completely change the Eagles' speed on defense. So At number 10, the Eagles. They have a lot of questions on defense, especially, and new coaches, but if they hit their peak, they're borderline the most talented team in the league. At number 9, the New York Jets. Speaking of one of the most talented teams in the NFL, if Aaron Rodgers is playing like Aaron Rodgers alongside arguably the best defense in the league, is there any more argument needed here? Like, the offensive line is the area that people are concerned about. They added a Hall of Famer, Tyron Smith. Elijah Vera Tucker is a good player. Morgan Moses was top 12 according to PFF, a right tackle last year. They added John Simpson from Baltimore. They added 4 pieces to their offensive line. Like, that is going to significantly change them. They have a number 1 receiver in Garrett Wilson, one of the most dynamic running backs in the league, Breece Hall. That's enough for Aaron Rodgers if Aaron Rodgers is playing like Aaron Rodgers, the way that he can control the game, how accurate he is, how smart he is, right? Rodgers with a great defense is something we have not seen in a long time. You've obviously got Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, one of the best D-lines in the league, one of the fastest defenses in the league, thanks to Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley. Robert Saleh and Hackett are a bit question marks on, coaching. I don't love the coaching, but Saleh's good on defense. And if Rodgers can figure out the offense, that's a good enough combination for me to give them reason to win the Super Bowl. Because in the playoffs, if you have that good of a defense alongside potentially what Aaron Rodgers could be, then you can beat anybody. I don't care. At number 8, the Buffalo Bills. With Josh Allen, you have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Josh Allen is Superman. Josh Allen is a one-man show, probably the best one-man show in the league. And people are concerned about Stephon Diggs. I don't care. I think the run game's going to be better. James Cook. I think the O-line is really underrated. I think they've got a plethora of receiver talent. They brought in Curtis Samuel. They drafted a kid in Coleman, right? Khalil Shakir is underrated. Dalton Kincaid, year 2, could take a step. The defense is always good under Sean McDermott. And Von Miller, if Von Miller can recapture form, he's the X factor of this team because he was horrible last year. He was horrendous. Matt Milano is back. The corners are really good. The safeties are younger, faster. I think there's reason to believe in the Bills. Everybody's fading them, but there's reason to believe because they have number 17. They're younger. I think that they're more balanced, and I think they're hungry. There's no debate about that. At number 7, the Baltimore Ravens. They have the MVP, 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry was brought in. That is so much fun. And they have Mark Andrews back, who basically didn't play last year. Zay Flowers could take a year 2 leap. And yeah, the O-line is not as good on paper. They lost 3 elements to that O-line out of 5. But if they could figure that out and some young guys that we don't really know about can step up and protect Lamar, with Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers in year 2, that is potentially a top 5 offense in the league. And then the defense was like arguably the best in the league by the end of the year, but they did lose Mike McDonald. They did lose Geno Stone. They did lose some pieces, Jadeveon Clowney, but they still got the middle of that defense, the core, right? Roquan Smith, Justin Madubuike, Marlon Humphrey, all these pieces, Marcus Williams, they've got all the pieces there to still be a top 10 defense. So top 10 offense, top 10 defense, really great coach that's won a Super Bowl, 2-time MVP. If Lamar can play in the playoffs, they can win the Super Bowl. At number 6, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are that young team that could shock the world this year and how much growth they see. And specifically on defense. Everybody's talking about Jordan Love, the new contract, right? Christian Watson, right? The receiving core, they could take steps forward, obviously. But the defense, new defensive coordinator, they have a ton of talent at every level. They brought in Xavier McKinney. I love the draft picks they made. Bullard and Cooper are guys that I like from the draft. They could add something, especially Cooper. And Quay Walker, he could take a step forward at linebacker. Lucas Van Ness, Devontae Wyatt. All these guys are fringe, like year 2, year 3 guys. They could all take steps forward. Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark are already elite players. Preston Smith's very solid. And if Jair Alexander can actually stay on the football field, we know how elite he can be as a lockdown corner, which then completely changes the defense, especially when you have an elite safety behind him in Xavier McKinney. So the defense alongside Matt LaFleur's schemed up offense, Josh Jacobs grinding the football in a way that Aaron Jones couldn't, in my opinion, in a playoff cold weather environment, alongside potentially 3 or 4 receivers that could all break out at the same time, and Jordan Love taking another step forward. This team can win the Super Bowl. This team nearly beat the Niners in the playoffs. At number 5, the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans are at number 5. The Texans have as much talent as anybody. They have a year 2 quarterback that I already think is top 5 in the NFL. And because of CJ Stroud and that aura that he brings to the football field, they can beat anybody. I believe that they can beat anybody. CJ Stroud can make plays, right? He is somebody that just takes over. Inside or outside structure. He's arguably the most accurate quarterback in the league already, and he's got the best receiving core in the league, in my opinion. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, that is special, alongside Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, a proven entity and a clutch performer in Joe Mixon in the backfield, one of the best left tackles in the league, a proven winner in Shaq Mason alongside on the offensive line, a young up-and-coming coordinator. That's what you need, right? In Slowick, you've got DeMeco Ryans. Everybody loves his energy on defense. And the defense has Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Forget about it. Forget about it. Derek Stingley could take a step forward at corner. I like the safety tandem in Ward and Petrie. They brought in Al Shire to upgrade the middle of the defense. And Danico Autry is a deadly third rusher as well. They have every element. Pass rush, lockdown corner, speed in the middle of their defense, a dynamic offense that can run or pass, and a great quarterback. They have every element to win the Super Bowl. At number 4, the Detroit Lions. The Lions are elevated from the Texans because they play in the NFC. And that's a key element to me. Obviously, they're already more proven as well. They went to the NFC Championship. They won multiple playoff games. And they pretty much proved that everybody besides the Niners, they could pretty much go toe-to-toe with and beat. And they went toe-to-toe with the Niners. They could have easily beaten the Niners, right, in their building. Now, the Lions improved their biggest weaknesses, which is why I believe in them. We already know they have an elite O-line, the best in the league probably. They have a great running back tandem. Sam Laporta, year 2, forget about it. Jahmyr Gibbs, year 2, forget about it. Like, Amon-Ra is great. Jameson Williams could take a huge step, which would add another dimension of speed and explosiveness to this offense. So there's a lot to be excited about with a Ben Johnson-led offense alongside Jared Goff, who's been deep in the playoffs multiple times already. But the defense, they improved many weaknesses. DJ Reader adds to their already good run defense, Marcus Davenport as well, and then Carlton Davis, right? Terrion Arnold, Emmanuel Mosley, Amik Robertson, Rakestraw, all these guys that they added this offseason in the secondary helps them eliminate their biggest weakness, which was the pass defense. So if they can really hone in on and have some breakout players on both offense and defense, and they can get better in that area of weakness, they can beat anybody in this league. Anybody. At number 3, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have been to a Super Bowl under Joe Burrow and been to the AFC Championship, and they nearly went to another Super Bowl, right, in back-to-back seasons with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. The Bengals have one of the most cohesive and together rosters in the NFL. Defensively and offensively, they have so much chemistry. They have so much belief in each other. And when Joe Burrow plays, they win a lot of games. And they have that X factor of the aura of winning in the playoffs. Like, Burrow brings it to this team. Like, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, these guys believe they can beat any team, including the Chiefs, in any setting. Doesn't matter if it's at Arrowhead, doesn't matter if it's Cincinnati, doesn't matter if it's on Pluto. They believe they can win. Right? The defense, Trey Hendrickson, is amazing. I think that they improved their safety positions drastically with Geno Stone and Von Bell. I think that they have young corners that are intriguing. Cam Taylor-Britt was really good when he played last year. Turner's interesting. I would like them to add another piece somewhere on their defense with a veteran addition like a Stephon Gilmore or something. That's the only thing that's missing for me, but they have, like, the great tandem at linebacker in Pratt and Wilson who have so much chemistry. Sam Hubbard, BJ Hill. These guys have so much chemistry together. This is the best O-line of Burrow's career. I'm not worried about running back. Trent Brown and Orlando Brown at tackle, that's by far the best tackle duo that he's ever had. Like, so they've got the receivers. They've got the weapons. They've got the quarterback. They've got Zach Taylor, who's been there and won big playoff games. They've done it. They've been so close. They could do it this year. At number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, the back-to-back champions are only number 2. Why? They play in the AFC. I've already mentioned the Bengals, the Bills, the Ravens, the Texans. There's so many teams that can win the Super Bowl in the AFC. There's only like 3 or 4 that you really feel good about in the NFC, which is why I have a team elevated above them at number 1. But the Chiefs also are trying to go for a three-peat, which is like never happened ever in the history of football or the NFL, like pre-Super Bowl era potentially. But you get what I'm saying. It's really hard to three-peat because wear and tear exists. Fat and happy exists where people are just happy to be there now. They did improve their receiving core. There's no doubt about it, but they did lose a key piece of their championship defense, which is what carried them to a championship last year. L'Jarius Sneed. Huge loss. Mike Edwards was a bit of a loss, right? You lost some, Willie Gay, like small guys, but the tackle duo is still a huge question mark. So there are small things about the Chiefs that you do worry about, but obviously they've got Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, who's a phenomenal defensive coordinator and big game coach, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, who's clutch as ever. He is getting older though. Isaiah Pacheco could really have a huge breakout year. They've got, again, Worthy, Brown, Rice, our best receiving core the Chiefs have had since like 2021, since they lost Tyreek Hill, and a good defense still, a very good defense, borderline elite. So yeah, they're awesome. They're the Chiefs, but it's just like three-peat. Is that going to happen? I don't know. That's why I have the 49ers at number 1. And I get it. Super Bowl hangover obviously exists, but the Niners have been as consistent as any team besides the Chiefs, right? Like they've been to 4 NFC championships in the last 5 years. And every time that the quarterback has been healthy, they've basically won the game. So, and they've been to the Super Bowl twice with 2 different quarterbacks, which shows their resiliency and the brilliance of Kyle Shanahan. They also probably have the best roster in the league with an elite left tackle, elite receiver, another elite receiver, a great tight end, right? The best running back in the league, a quarterback that's young and ascending and having a full offseason to work, which is something he's never had yet because he was rehabbing last year. They have Nick Bosa, they have Fred Warner, they have Charvarius Ward, they have Hufanga returning. I think their secondary is better and deeper. I think their O-line will be more cohesive and better this year. I think their receiving core is better thanks to Ricky Pearsall being added, and they didn't lose anybody, and Brandon Ayuk is staying, don't worry. And I think it could be the Niners' time this year, right? We saw the Patriots lose the Super Bowl in 2017, win the Super Bowl in 2018. The Chiefs have bounced back pretty consistently as well from losing the Super Bowl or losing a big game and coming back and winning. So I don't think that the Super Bowl hangover is as big of a deal or something to hang up on as much as a three-peat, because it's so much harder to go deep into the playoffs 3 years in a row and then and win with the target on your back. But in the NFC, where there's not many competitors, the Niners have that much better of a chance to get back and then maybe win, as long as they don't see the Chiefs in that game. So those are the chances of every NFL team to win the Super Bowl in 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, it's Mitch, OwnersBox Fantasy. Subscribe. I'm so excited to be here. And Gronk spiked the like button. Peace, guys.